The very early days of railways were marked with disasters, accidents. Safety signalling was very, very primitive. And though it wasn't by far the biggest catastrophe in terms of loss of life, probably one of the most tragic of all the railway accidents was when a train was travelling over the bridge over the River Tay. The bridge over the Tay had been built in May 1879, was opened by Queen Victoria, and 6 months later, the last Sunday of December, before the New Year, the bridge collapsed in a gale. The train travelling over it carried 90 passengers, and all were lost.
On the day that the bridge was opened, the Queen herself travelled there. She rode the first train across the water, 100 feet up in the air.
And I sit with my back to the engine and hear the black lashing rain come beating the glass of the window, pounding the roof of the train.
So the railway system expanded as from the last day in May, and the bridge carried eye-popping passengers on day after glorious day.
And I sit with my back to the engine, thankful the coaches are warm, and I'm not outside in the anger and rage of the thundering storm.
But meanwhile the experts were doubting the strength of a structure so long, and the railway inspector was cautious if the bridge was sufficiently strong.
And I sit with my back to the engine, facing a pretty young thing. I smile, but she looks through the window, though I fancy her cheeks colouring.
But the stories were all taken lightly, and so the trains rattled on. The designer enjoyed his brief glory, never thinking it soon would be gone.
And I sit with my back to the engine, gazing upon a sweet sight, as I study her ghostly reflection, projected out into the night.
Well, the ironwork was insufficient to cope with the wild western gales, and the weight of the engine and coaches travelling over the rails.
And I sit with my back to the engine, crossing water so stormy and wild, the wind shrieking through the high girders like the cries of a poor orphaned child.
And the train was so fated to tumble into the cold depths of the Tay, for the bridge could stand there no longer on that tragic and terrible day.
And I sit with my back to the engine. There is one sudden crash and no more, and her screams are drowned by the noises of wind and the wild waters' roar.
And when the storm had abated, all the high girders were gone, just the stumps of the columns remaining, while trace of the train there was none.
And I sit with my back to the engine and smile, but she doesn't care, nor the fishes that swim by the window, nor the seaweed that hangs in her hair.